Hi, welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
Kelly.
And I'm Lori.
We are talking about the Menendez brothers. So there's been a lot of movement on this case most recently since the Netflix docuseries that Ryan Murphy did.
So do you know why that they did that?
The docuseries?
Yeah, so apparently during quarantine, Court TV started rerunning the original trial.
Yes.
And people were on TikTok talking about it, and that prompted the guy who made the Netflix docuseries.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So on August 20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty Menendez were gunned down with shotguns in their Beverly Hills, California home. Just going to give us like a quick little timeline. Their sons, Lyle Menendez at the time was 21 and Eric was 18. And during this docuseries, I don't remember how many episodes was it. Was it 3 or 4? Do you remember?
I have no idea. So
The
why would
Netflix
I
one?
watched it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I thought it was 6, but I could be wrong because I
You
didn't
know what?
watch it.
I did watch it. I watched it several months ago. So during this series, we find
This is the
out,
one called Monsters, right?
yes, the one called
Okay.
Monsters. We find out that, we know that they gunned down their parents. They never disputed that. But we find out a little bit more about their life at home growing up in the Menendez house and how Jose Menendez was very controlling, and Kitty just kind of fell in line and did what Jose said to do. And the boys were abused, verbally, physically, sexually abused by their father. And as the trial goes on, we find out that it wasn't just their father and that their mother was aware of what was going on there. And the boys felt that the only way to get out of this situation was to kill their parents.
And they said that it was self-defense because they thought their parents were going to kill them that night. That is part of their defense.
It's actually called imperfect self-defense.
Yes.
Which means that you're not in imminent danger at the time. You think that you may be killed, but not at that particular moment, because the time that they killed them, they were watching TV and they shot them from behind, eating ice cream. Like, there was no imminent danger at that immediate time. They thought in the very near future what was going to happen to them, which is what the imperfect self-defense was.
Yeah, I read some things about how they said that there were two doors to this TV room, and that those doors were always, always, always open. And then they show during this series on Netflix that they all go out for a family trip on a boat.
Yes.
Fishing. And then when on this trip, Eric and Lyle were super nervous during the series, and they thought that their parents had possibly taken them on this trip to kill them, some kind of boating accident. So they were all paranoid. And then directly after that, when they were home that night that they were killed, those doors were closed to that TV room. So there was some speculation that it was an indication for them that there was something really wrong, and added to their fear for their lives is that those doors were closed. Just a little aside that I picked up somewhere that I read, and I was like, okay, interesting.
Another thing was that the other reason they thought something was going to happen is because Lyle, the older brother, had just recently learned that this was happening to his younger brother, Eric. It had been happening to Lyle for a very long time, and he had told his father, Jose, enough, this cannot go on anymore. And then Jose moved on to his younger brother, Eric. And when Lyle found this out, he confronted Jose and said that this has to stop. And their thought was Jose's, their mom and dad is scared that this is going to come out, and that the only way they can stop it from coming out is by killing their children.
Right.
This was their thought process on why they thought that they were in fear for their life, because this secret had come out and they didn't, want to be exposed. So then in March of 1990, Eric and Lyle Menendez were arrested for first-degree murder because right after the murder happened, maintained that their story was that they thought it was perhaps a mob hit.
Yeah.
And they kind of staged it to be like a mob-style hit. They shot him from behind. They shot their mother in the face. They shot
the
kneecaps.
kneecaps.
Yeah.
Kneecaps.
Something that would be like a mob-style hit. And then they went off on this, lavish spending spree, spending all this money, and it looked a little suspicious.
$16,000 on money clips and Rolexes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And Eric Menendez, the younger brother, was seeing a therapist because he just couldn't take the guilt of what he had done. He just couldn't take it anymore. So he had told the therapist what happened. And then he told his brother Lyle that he told the therapist. And Lyle was like, no, we're in big trouble. We're going to be caught. So they go to the therapist's office trying to tell the therapist that what Eric said wasn't true. They tried that. They tried to, change the story. The therapist, now is in fear of his life. He's like, oh no, now what do I do? And he, at the time, this shady therapist has a girlfriend, a mistress, because I guess he's married, right?
Yes, it was definitely a mistress.
So he tells the mistress what's going on and wants the mistress to come to the office when the boys are going to come to the office and have the conversation because he's going to record them and he wants to try and get evidence against them. Lyle, the older brother, realizes what's going on and he tries to say that, listen, I've got all this money, we have access to all this money. Maybe we can work something out, or maybe my father was paying you. Because the reason Eric even had this therapist is because something had happened and it was court ordered.
The boys had the home that they were killed in was not their original house. They had lived in another neighborhood in another house, and the boys had gone on a robbing spree and were robbing homes in the area.
The Menendez brothers?
The Menendez brothers, yes, they were.
Yes.
And they got busted, and that is why they originally started seeing the therapist.
Because it was court ordered.
It's court ordered, yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they were going around robbing houses.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and because Jose Menendez was so powerful, that's why they didn't go to jail or anything for this. They had this court-ordered therapy.
Yeah, but that's why they had to move. They had to sell their house.
Yes, because they were an embarrassment.
Because they were embarrassed.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and it's not like they didn't have the money.
So this is why I asked, because I listened to Shane and Emily, Legally Brunette. And what Shane was saying was, because obviously, we'll get to this, but the prosecutor's whole thing was that they wanted the money. They killed their parents for the money.
Right.
And Shane was like, but it's not like they had a card with a $250,000 limit that they could use. It's not like the kids needed the money. It's not like the parents were withholding from them. These kids clearly had, fair,
right,
can't
but
think of the word I'm looking for, but they were able to spend their parents' money. Their parents weren't withholding anything from them, that they had to kill their parents to get their money.
Yeah, but they certainly did not have the full access to.
No, but it's
it was
just
still
interesting to me
highly
that they're robbing
controlled.
houses. It's almost like, was it for sport? What are you robbing from these people? If you want, I don't know, this was in the 90s, so if you want the newest, Walkman.
Right.
Aren't your parents just going to buy it? You don't have to go rob it from your neighbors. It sounds like they were doing it for sport.
Well, I think it was. It obviously wasn't for the money. It definitely was not for the money. It was, listen, I think it was a rebellious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it was trying to regain some control.
Right. They had no control of their lives. Right.
That's true.
And
that's true.
Lyle was in school in Princeton, and he was supposed to be like the golden child. And then he got in trouble in Princeton. So there was that whole situation. And Eric was the tennis player who was like the golden child in sports. And, like neither one of these boys could perform the way that their father expected them to perform. Like everything with him had to be,
Perfect.
You had to be number one. You had to be perfect. They had to live this like perfect life. And it, to wake up every single day of your life and have to do this.
Have that pressure.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Much.
And yeah.
Maybe your kids could be striving for that perfection if you weren't sexually assaulting them.
Yeah.
And stripping every ounce of their confidence and self-worth away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely in the docuseries, there was a lot of things. It wasn't that they actually showed you the things, but they talked about it, and it was very graphic and very disturbing.
Yeah.
Which is why I said, like, you don't need to watch that
I
to
couldn't
know.
watch that.
But you don't need to, like, just to know that they were abused. They were horribly abused.
I mean, 2 cousins testified that they witnessed it, and 1 cousin actually wrote a letter. So if your cousins know about it, it's happening.
Right. Right.
So I definitely believe that they were being abused.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
Believe that.
And I believe the mother knew about it.
For sure. For sure.
She knew about it. She knew what was going on in her house. So then in 1993, so they were arrested in March of 1990. In 1993, it went on trial. Each brother had their own jury. So it was one trial. They each had their own lawyer, and they each had their own jury.
Which logistically must have been a nightmare. Because if you're questioning one and the one jury can't hear, they have to physically remove themselves from the court.
I don't think
they did.
that's what they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that must have been terrible. That's
Yeah.
why, probably why one of the reasons it went on so long.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a long trial. So the juries, both juries in 1994 came back deadlocked. So it was a mistrial for both cases.
So
Then
they said that it was a mistrial because, where do I have it? I know I wrote it down. Basically, all of the men on the jury couldn't believe that boys could be sexually assaulted.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah. And then all the women on the jury all believed it.
Right.
But I think that the bottom line is that no matter what, I mean, legally, sexual abuse is not grounds for killing someone.
No.
No, that's yeah.
Right.
They said that. Yeah.
Right. And again,
it's not a defense.
It's
Right.
not a defense.
Right. But their defense was imperfect self-defense. So it wasn't for the sexual abuse. It was for they thought that their parents were going to kill them.
To kill them.
Yeah. Right.
And then after the mistrial, when they were retried in 1996, the second trial, the judge did not allow them that defense. The imperfect self-defense was not allowed to be entered in.
And he also precluded all of the sexual abuse.
Yes, barred much of it.
I guess.
Much
Right.
of it. Not all of it, but much of it. And then there was the other problem with Lyle, after the first hung jury, did an interview over the phone, and the person that he did the interview with wrote a book about it.
I don't even think it was an interview. It was some woman that he was
Conversation.
talking to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talking to on the phone, and she was
Exactly.
He
recording
really
it.
thought
It
he
was
was talking in confidence.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what it was. He thought he was talking in confidence, and he was being cocky, and he could not get on the stand because
Right.
that information could be asked
He would have
to
been
him.
questioned. Sure.
And they couldn't risk that because he said some stupid things.
Right.
So
They also said that the DA's office, and I had heard this, the DA's office looked very incompetent after the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yes.
So they had people really pushing for this win for them.
Yes. Yes. And one of the brothers was actually in the cell next to OJ.
Really?
Yes. Yes. And,
What a shit show.
Yeah.
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 Big shit show.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. So in 1996, at the end of the second trial, where the judge barred that, they were both at this time convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 2 consecutive life prison terms without the possibility of parole. So while they were going through this whole trial thing, this is, one of the things that we saw, they at least said, all right, you know what? Even if we get found guilty, at least we'll be together. At least we'll have each other, right? At least we'll be together. Well, as soon as they were found guilty, they sent them to separate prisons. And they didn't, they did it in the middle of the night. They put one on one bus and put another one on another bus. And they thought that they were just being transported to the facility that they were going to be in, but they sent them to 2 separate facilities.
Yeah.
Which, again,
that's messed up.
It's so messed up. It's so messed up.
And, Shane Simpson was saying, you have to keep in mind, life without parole means just that, life without parole. So basically, people who go to prison with life without parole, they have nothing to lose. They're never getting out. They have nothing to lose. And these guys went and have been model prisoners.
Yes.
They have worked with hospice patients. They've worked with, sexual assault survivors. They really have done all the right things since they've been there, even knowing. I mean, this didn't come up until the past 5 years.
Right.
So they've been there, 25 years or 30? 30, right?
30 now, yeah.
Yeah, so for 25 years, even not with an inkling that they could possibly overturn that, they've still maintained a positive life behind bars.
Prison, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very admirable.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've both gotten degrees.
Yeah.
In what year was it? 99. Eric Menendez married his wife, Tammy. And they connected as pen pals through prison. They also did this whole thing with green space, and they still want to continue doing this kind of stuff if they do get out. They really are model prisoners. I mean,
they were. They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, they did get in trouble for a few things. It wasn't like they were that squeaky clean. They did get in trouble for a few things. Oh, yeah. But nothing, when you take it over that span of time, nothing that's...
Right. So Eric and Tammy are still married today. And Tammy is, an advocate for the both brothers to be released.
They're still married?
Yes. Yes. And in 2003, Menendez married Rebecca Sneed at the Mule Creek State Prison. Sneed announced in November of 2024 that she and Lyle had been separated for a while, but remain best friends and family. So
Well, now he has a new girlfriend, right?
I think he does. I think he does.
Have they ever been in the same prison?
Yes, they're together now.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. So in 2018, Lyle and Eric Menendez were reunited for the first time since 1996.
That's crazy.
When Lyle Menendez was moved to Eric Menendez's prison, R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego.
Wow.
So since 2018, they've been together. And, that's amazing. I mean, I'm so glad that they finally got to be together because...
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah. When they came face to face for the first time, the brothers burst into tears immediately, which, they just hugged and for a few minutes without even saying anything. They just hugged and cried.
Of course.
Because I can't even imagine. The prison officials let them spend an hour together in a room. Okay, great. So I've listened to, I saw the whole docuseries. I listened to Two Angry Men. I told you my new favorite podcast. And they were both on it via telephone. with Mark Garagos and Harvey Levin.
Who is their attorney?
Mark Garagos is their attorney. And, you could tell they were on a prison, that they kept getting the recording that it's going to end, it's going to end. But you could tell by listening to that interview that they are cautiously hopeful. They've been there for so long, they never ever expected to get out. That's when they talked about if they do get out, they still want to continue, doing things that they've been doing. They want to work for prison reform and better conditions, which is certainly needed. I mean, it's certainly something we know that's, needed in this situation. So in 2023, after spending decades behind bars, the brothers filed a habeas corpus petition for a review of new evidence not presented at the original trial. So one piece of evidence is allegations from Roy Rosello, a former member of the boy band Menudo, who revealed in a 2023 docuseries, the Menendez Menudo Boys betrayed, that he was also raped by Jose Menendez. So that's
drugged and raped.
Drugged and raped.
Drugged and raped, yes.
Yes.
And he also said the abuse was over several years.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That Menendez went on tour for 3 weeks with Menudo in Brazil, and supposedly all the band members were dressed in drag and passed around to different executives while on the tour.
No way.
That's a supposed...
Alleged.
Yes.
Listen, at this point, Eric and Lyle Menendez sexual abuse is alleged too, because, while we may believe that's true and a lot of people may believe it's true, it is still alleged. There is
There's no proof.
There's no proof. But, listen, we've talked about this before, the entertainment industry.
Disgusting. Have your head examined if you put your kids in there.
It's not a far stretch to say it's a front for human trafficking, often.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, it's not. It's really not. And then the second piece of evidence is a letter that Eric Menendez wrote to his cousin 8 months before the murders, detailing his alleged abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The cousin testified about the alleged abuse at trial, but the letter, which would have corroborated the cousin's testimony, wasn't unearthed until several years ago, according to the brother's attorney. So now they have the actual letter itself, which, that these are big pieces of evidence.
Where was the letter?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you
I don't know.
That they said, Emily and Shane said that they could not find, so they had over 50, I think they said, character witnesses on behalf of the boys.
Yeah.
I think it was over 50. They did not have one character witness on behalf of the father to say he was a good guy. They could not find one person. They did not,
Right.
Yeah, nobody came up.
What's wrong with me tonight? I can't think, but not one
I know that
person. Just to be a character witness on behalf of the father to say that he was a good man.
Yeah, so this guy, Robert Rand, he was the one who... he wrote a book on the Menendez brothers, and he been following the case since its inception. So he had said that he had done several interviews with Jose Menendez's private secretary at RCA, and he said that over all these interviews, the secretary kept bringing up Jose's obsession with Menudo and Ricky Martin. And that's what prompted him to really start to investigate Menudo and interviewing that Roy Rello and finally coming full circle.
So that's how that
came about. Yeah.
My God, I wonder if he did that to poor Ricky Martin.
I'm sure that there's horrible, horrible things going on in that industry, especially way back then.
Do you remember when Ricky Martin first came on the scene? First of all, he's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely gorgeous. And every single interview, I'll never forget, because I think this was around the time Eric and I started dating. I guess when he went out on his own, and every interview they would ask him, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? And he was like, I don't talk about that part of my life. He was very closed down with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been because, he was gay and didn't feel like sharing that with the world at the time. But I don't know. It makes
Who
you
knows what
wonder.
was really going
It
on?
makes you wonder, like, what was going on with this poor guy, like that he didn't feel comfortable enough to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always remember that he would get visibly uncomfortable when asked about his personal, intimate life.
So the habeas corpus petition, what that is a legal request to challenge the detainment of a prisoner or detainee. The term habeas corpus is Latin for you should have the body. The court could reverse the conviction or reopen proceedings. So the prosecutor in LA, where this trial happened, back in September of 2024, was going to move forward with looking into this and seeing if this is something that could happen. Unfortunately, he was voted out in November, and there's now a new prosecutor.
Very interesting, right?
Right.
Very, very interesting.
Gascon announced that he was on October 24th. No, that's the old one. The old one's Gascon. The new one is, what is his name?
Yeah, what is his name?
Nathan Hochman.
Yeah.
On November 5th, Gascon lost the race to Nathan Hochman. Hochman became the DA in December and said he wanted to review all the evidence, including prison records and trial transcripts, before deciding if he'll recommend resentencing. On February 1st, 2025, Hochman announced he asked the court to deny the brothers' habeas corpus petition, which aims to get a new trial, or the case tossed out. The DA argued the new evidence the defense presented wasn't credible or admissible.
Such bullshit.
Hochman also said he would announce a decision on resentencing in the coming weeks. If Hochman recommends resentencing, the final decision then goes to the judge, and the parole board must also approve. Then on February 26th, 5 days later, California Governor Gavin Newsom spoke about the brothers' third potential for a path to freedom. They could request for the governor to give them clemency. Newsom said he is ordering the parole board to launch a comprehensive risk assessment investigation into whether the brothers pose an unreasonable risk to the public if released. The governor's primary consideration when evaluating commutation applications is public safety, which includes the applicant's current risk level, the impact of the commutation on victims and survivors, the applicant's self-development and conduct since the offense, and if the applicant has made use of available rehabilitation programs, addresses treatment needs, and mitigated risk factors for reoffending. The governor's office said in the letter to defense attorney Mark Garagos. So everything that he's looking for, the governor, they've done. Every single family member has said they want him released. They want them both released.
Now, I want to bring this up because, they're going to be two cash cows.
Yes, they
are. For sure.
When they get out. So, some people are of the mindset, well, you know what? Of course the family wants them to get out. They're going to come into all that money.
Well, there's no money. They're going to have to make their own money because all that money that their parents had is gone.
Saying.
Yeah.
The money. Yeah, where did the parents' money go, by the way?
They said their legal defense and I guess keeping up the estate. I don't know what that means, but the money's gone.
You're talking that you're
They're
saying
make
that
money.
the family is
money.
interested in the future earnings.
Maybe.
Potential future earnings.
I don't know.
Sure. So Shane and Emily had on Alex, who's a female attorney who works in Mark Garagos' office. So the interview this podcast that I listened to today was actually Legally Brunette's first podcast, and it was from December. And she said that they would obviously prefer just a resentencing because that's cleaner than the
retrial.
Well, because that's the thing, that petition that they filed, habeas petition, if the it's granted, corpus.
Yeah, it would be a retrial.
They could have to have a new trial.
Actually, I would think what they would really want is just a pardon from the governor. Yeah.
Right, the clemency from the governor. But, I mean, it's amazing. They said that the prosecutor in the first trial is actually on video saying in court, it is our position that boys cannot be sexually abused. It is
I know.
on video of her saying
Crazy.
that. I mean,
It is crazy.
terrible.
Yeah, so supposedly that hearing, I thought this was interesting. So they're going to have a hearing with the parole board on June 3rd.
Yeah. It's pushed out to June now.
But there's still something coming up on March 20th.
They still have that, but then they could look at that and be like, well, we want to wait until, the public threat assessment is done. But what I didn't like is I don't like the fact that the governor announced this June 13th date on his own
Podcast.
private podcast.
Right.
He did.
Yeah.
That's like not cool.
Well, that's one of the things that Mark Garagos was saying to Harvey Levin is that, and he can't say too much because it's his case, right? But actually, I think it was Harvey that actually said it. Of course, Newsom's going to want them out so he can have them on his podcast. Like, this is all about grandstanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
For
all
of
about
them.
It's all about grandstanding. It is, and it is for all of them. I don't know if I didn't saw this week. Savannah Guthrie was interviewing Mark Garagos. Did either of you see that?
I saw it.
Is she still on the Today Show?
Yes. Well,
Is that what it was on?
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
She was trying to go in hard for Mark Garagos, and he kept cutting her off because, listen, I can't stand the media, and I specifically cannot stand Savannah Guthrie because
Agreed.
this is what she does. She tries to force the agenda down your throat without speaking facts, and he kept calling her out on it and cutting her off.
I might have to watch that.
You do have to watch it.
Yeah, it's a little
What
clip
was your
on
thought?
YouTube.
What was your thought about it, Lori? Like, wasn't it crazy?
Oh, yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. No,
So
I
the
was not
agenda
digging
she
that.
was trying to push was that the prosecutor is, what was exactly that she said? It was false information. The prosecutor put out false information, and Mark Garagos kept saying that is not correct. You took the bait. You are doing what he wants you to do.
Well, actually, it was the new DA. So the
Right.
new DA put out this list. He's backing them into a corner.
He's saying
doing.
you have to
This
admit to all of these things.
To all of these things, and
Right.
It was like
Garagos-
16 things or something.
right.
And Garagos was saying that everything that was on the list was either abandoned in the first trials or cross-examined. And then, so he said that, that's all been gone over already in the first trial.
Right. Right. I just saw, so I had listened to, Legally Burnett, and then I watched a couple of YouTubes, and one of the YouTubes was a recent news reporter saying just that. And I forget who she had on. It was Mark Garagos. I believe it was Mark Garagos. It wasn't Savannah Guthrie, though. Was it him? I believe so. And he was saying that it's just absolutely ridiculous. No, it was a woman. It was a woman because she kept saying, whoever it was kept saying, he's a control freak. He's a control freak.
Yes,
Talking about the DA.
The DA, yeah.
It was a woman. It wasn't Mark Aragos. Maybe somebody in his office. Maybe
Yeah,
it was
probably
that
so.
Alex that was on.
It could
And
be.
I saw something else where they were reviewing the show on Netflix and like what really happened and what didn't happen. According to what they showed on the Netflix show.
So the Monsters was a dramatization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. It was.
So one of the things that they said was that on the Netflix show, they kill the parents and then they leave the house and they go to the movie theater and try and get like a movie theater ticket and then go to a restaurant. But in real life, they never left the house. They still use the movie theater as their alibi, but they actually never left the house. So I thought that was kind of cool. So in the end, I'd like to know what you ladies think, each of you.
My thought is they need to get out of jail. I think either through resentencing or through a clemency. I believe that they've served enough time. I believe if that was tried today with today's standards, they would have not served even half as much time, even if they were found guilty. I believe that they would have not been denied the ability to use the sexual abuse as a defense, and it would have been a completely different outcome because people are way more aware 30 years later of what really goes on behind closed doors and what goes on in
sexual abuse situations.
Yes.
So does it bother either one of you how premeditated it was?
No.
No.
So Shane and Emily did talk about the fact that they watched a movie called The Billionaires Boys Club.
I did too. I've seen that.
Oh, I didn't see it. Judd Nelson's in it apparently, though.
Yeah. I
I'm
haven't
gonna have to
watched
watch it.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I should watch it again.
Yeah, we should watch it.
And
Yeah.
they also wrote one of the brothers was writing a book.
A screenplay.
Yes.
A screenplay, yeah.
About killing parents for an inheritance. So,
Yes.
I mean, that's not a great look.
You went and bought the guns.
That's not a great look.
Right. You went and bought the guns beforehand. You drove pretty far away to get them. You used false ID to get them.
This was definitely premeditated. There's no doubt about it. But if your own father, who is clearly that's what I was going to say. So I agree with everything you said, Wendy. But I also think that if that happened today, it wouldn't have come to this because these kids, their father was extremely powerful. Their own mother was turning a blind eye to this abuse.
Mm-hmm.
There was nowhere for them to go, no one for them to go to. Even the letter to the cousin, the kid swore his cousin to secrecy and said, you can't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today you would pray to God that they would have a different outlet and go to the cops or talk to somebody because of
and that they believe them.
Awareness that we have now. I mean, unfortunately, I'm sure this is going on in homes that we don't know about, and the kids are too scared to tell someone, which is incredibly sad.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you went to the cops, they're going to do something about it. Then these kids probably felt like they couldn't do that.
Now, what about their behavior after the murders?
Listen, I think it was reckless, but who
you
cares?
look at it more as a trauma response.
I do.
I think it's a trauma response.
I do.
I think that they felt like we're fucking free, for crying out loud.
Right.
Like, we are free from this nightmare we've been living.
And now what about to those who say, 2 shots each and they would have been done? What with the excessive and the mother crawling away and still getting shot?
Well, listen, I think that they wanted to, 1, put her out of her misery. And 2, I think that they wanted it to look like a mob-style hit.
They did.
So that's why you feel that they went overboard.
The hatred they must have had pent up.
Yeah.
And then that release when they did that, I just, it was probably
Now, let me ask you this. How, if you really think about it, do you think you would still feel the same if it was, 2 inner city kids that did the same thing?
Absolutely.
I would feel the same. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely. I mean,
why would that even,
Because there is a fame factor to it. You can't deny that there's not a fame factor to it.
If it weren't based out of Beverly Hills, it wouldn't have gotten the media coverage it gotten. There's no way.
I'm just saying that they also wouldn't have this fan base that they have. Like, they wouldn't, if it was just 2 regular kids.
Right.
I'm just saying
there wouldn't have been as much exposure. We probably wouldn't even have known about it. Well, maybe we would have, but.
Well, I mean, it was all over court TV.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's what people did. I mean, I didn't. I had a job. But people who didn't have a job, that's what they did. They watched court TV.
Court TV all day.
Do you remember when the O.J. Simpson trial, there was a workbook? You could buy a workbook.
Yeah.
I swear to you, because I almost bought it. I'm not going to lie. But there was a workbook. And this is during the trial where you could answer questions and try to piece through it. I know someone who did buy it, but it wasn't me. But I thought about it.
Yeah. But I mean, if you go by the fact that the sexual abuse you can't say that that's a defense. And if you go by the premeditation involved, I don't know.
Like I said, they've done 35 years. I mean, let's just look at Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who killed her mother. I mean, she's 10 years and she's out of jail and she's having a baby.
What happened to the guy who actually did murder her mother?
He is in jail without parole.
Okay. So
he's in jail without parole. He's in jail without parole because, he's serving life. Yeah, no possibility of parole. So
listen, we'll see what happens. I think if, let him out, put him on house arrest for a year.
I mean,
I don't think they're a threat to the public. That's my personal opinion, but
I don't think that they're a threat. I don't think they're going to kill anybody. I don't think they're going to hurt anybody. I think that they've done their time.
Get some counseling, obviously.
Well, I think they've been in counseling.
One would hope.
Yeah, I think they set up counseling programs for other people. They're like,
right. They're proponents for that.
Yeah, so I think this is a horrible situation that happened. Let's get something good to come out of it. I mean, Jose and Kitty aren't coming back.
No.
Let's let these guys out and, see if they can make a change in the world. Because they can't do anything really more than what they've done in jail, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence.
Okay.
I'm certainly not totally won over on it.
Yeah.
But we shall see. So
yeah,
we definitely shall see.
Yeah, so I think it's the 20th and the 21st. They have stuff
March.
coming up. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is the parole hearing, right?
No, the hearing with the parole board is June 13th.
Okay, so then what is the one that's
I think is
the evaluation.
Whether or not, no, I think this is whether
it's a trial.
Or not they can have the resentencing.
Yes, that's what it is.
So it's okay.
No. This is not the resentencing. This is whether or not it can be retried. The DA is not recommending it, but they still get to go in front of the judge.
So is it the hearing on the petition? It's the hearing on the petition to make a decision on the petition.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes, so they're still afforded that right, even though the DA is not recommending it.
Right. So the judge makes the final decision.
The judge makes the final decision. And, the judge does not need that public threat assessment in order to make his decision.
Right. He is probably going to want it.
One would think.
Well, I would think that we would have done. How long does it take to do the public threat assessment?
I don't know. I'm not a public threat assessment person.
You've never done one, Laura?
They need until June 13th. So
Right. So that's what you're saying. That's what you said before. So the judge might be like, I'm not going to rule on this until after.
Right. Even though there's something coming up on the 20th, he might say, you know what, I'm going to wait until the 13th. I'm going to see what the parole board has to say. I'm going to see what this public threat assessment has to say. And then
I'm going to see what the governor has to say.
And go from there.
Yeah, because the governor could come swoop in and put all this to rest.
Well, he's got to be very careful. I think he's looking for something. I think he's looking to make a political play in the future. So he's going to, he's just waiting to see where the wind's blowing. He's waiting to make the right move for him. He's certainly not sitting there saying, oh, poor Eric and Lyle have been sitting in jail for 30 years.
No, they just had the wildfire. So he's dealing with that backlash. That wasn't a good look.
No,
cutting off the water supply to the area.
There's a lot.
It was a church.
Right. He is a very intelligent man, apparently.
Yeah, there's a lot that he needs to atone for as far as his political career goes.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. He's really waiting to see how the wind's blowing.
Yeah, he's measuring the temperature.
He doesn't want it blowing in the wrong direction for him.
Right.
His decision on clemency, I don't feel has any bearing on the case at all. It all has to do with him. So we shall see.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, and, we'll report on it or
Sure.
talk about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm gonna even hold on to my notes, people. I'm not going to throw them out tonight
There you go.
because we're going to do a
Whoa.
follow up, and I might have to revert back.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, they did say that there was also some changes in the law from when the original trial happened now in regards to them being eligible for parole. There's some youth offenders, something or other, that has changed from then till now. And that was another thing that they were bringing up in the
Well, one was 18 and one was
resentencing.
21, though. They weren't youth.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
weren't even juveniles.
No, but it's not that. There was some change in the law that has to do with what they're considering like a youth offender. There was some change in the law, and that also had to do with the thing that's coming up on the 20th with the letter. And what was the other thing that they said? There was the letter from the cousin,
The Menudos.
and the Menudos,
testimony.
and then it was this change in the law in regards to a youth offender. So those were the three things that were having to do with that.
So if our listeners can let us know in the comments, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think that they, like, let us know what you think. Let us know if you think that they should, stay in prison. You think they should get out. You think they should be, on house arrest. Let us know your thoughts because, we're curious.
Yeah.
We'd like to know.
Yeah. All right. Until
All right.
next time, thank you for watching and listening.
Bye.
Bye.